Welcome to the HTML Basics with CSS. I'm Sarah, and this is going to be the part 2 where we're going to be continuing where we left off. So where we left off is that we only had some basic HTML stuff here. I have basically went ahead and added the other things that we needed, and I'm going to go over what those other things are. They're not different than what I've already showed you in the last video. It was basically where we had this paragraph tag where we had the class color change, and I basically added a few more of those as well as the closing div tag. Remember that I told you that if you are doing any type of HTML tags, you need to close them. So this needed to be closed. So I have added that here. I will scroll over to show you the different paragraph tags that I have put here. You don't have to put exactly the text that I'm putting down here. If you want to just put your own, you can do that as well. But this is just a little bit of what I had here. So I added a second one here where it says Amelia's Bakery is to showcase all the baked goods that Amelia spends her lovely time making, as well as a way to keep in touch. I added another one where this says her home page. Home is the current page you're on. About you can find, I think I put, no, the about is where you can find. I'm going to actually fix that here. Is where you can find more information about Amelia. Goodies, the best page. You will find all the baked goods, and contact is a way to get in touch with Amelia. So you can go ahead and type out either what I have here. You can stop and pause the video at any time to do that. Or you can just do your own basic ones. You don't have to write out everything that I'm doing line by line if you don't want to. And then I have an ending one here, which is our ending statement, which I might go back and end later. But just to basically show you what that looks like here, I have these here so you can see what it basically looks like in the website. It's still very plain looking. It's not a whole lot going on. But we're going to basically go ahead and fix that. But we're going to go ahead and add some other things that we need in our body before we can start going back to our CSS and adding all the colors, the background, and the text changes. So what we want to add next is what we call a footer. And what a footer is if you've ever been on a website before, you will see like at the bottom of a page where they have like a copyright of some sort, or where it says like the name of the website at the very bottom. It's that footer there at the bottom. So here in our presentation, in that sketch that I showed you here, the footer will be down here, and that contains some type of different information. What we're going to put into the footer itself here in this website is basically who the owner is of the website, and then we're going to list Amelia's email at the bottom. So what I'm going to do here again is do an open tag for the footer. I'm going to do a paragraph tag, and I'm actually going to go ahead and put that in another class, and I'm going to name it footer text. And again, you don't need classes in every paragraph tag that you have. I'm only doing classes as a way for me to go back and just edit that specific paragraph tag and not all the ones that I have, which you will see when we go to our CSS to go edit them. So I'm going to do that there, put that here. I'm going to say owner, Amelia's Bakery. I'm going to do a closing paragraph tag here. I'm going to close that there. And then I'm going to add another paragraph tag, which I'm going to do. Name that class equals footer text. I'm going to close that again. And we're just going to create a fake email address. It doesn't have to be something real, because Amelia is just our persona that we have created. She's just a scenario. So it's not going to be a real email address. But we're going to put email B for her name. We're going to say @example, since this is not a real email address. And then we're going to close that paragraph tag, as well as we are going to close the footer tag. And just a friendly reminder, this all stays within our body, which closes right here, and in our HTML tag. You don't want to put this outside of it, because or else it will not show up. I'm going to push save, and I'm going to open it up in my browser again. I'm going to refresh it, and as you can see down here, we have the owner, which is Amelia's Bakery, and her email address. So if we open this a little bit more, you can see there's still a lot of white space back here, but this is what we have going on. All right. Now that I have that pretty much done and out the way, if you remember from the last video where I went over the different type of CSS files that we had that we will be working with, I explained that there was external, internal, and inline. We will be using what we call the internal one, which will be inside of our actual HTML page. This will be a little bit easier for us to work with, because I want to be able to teach you the CSS in a way without having you access different files and having to link them. I want you to work all within one file that we have going on here. So I am going to go ahead and go above our title here, where we have it. Our title right here. So this is also going to be within the header here. And I'm going to do an open style. This will basically go in there, and it's highlighting some different things because I have not closed it yet. But basically this is where we're going to be putting our HTML, not our HTML, but our CSS that we will get up there and define for our page. So Amelia said that she wanted to do like a blue background to kind of showcase that. So how would I do that here? So I'm going to start off with body. This will edit the body of the basic background of the page. And we're going to do an open and close bracket. And I'm going to type inside of this bracket background color. And I want to name it blue. Like I said before, we will get into hexadecimal code, which will go into different colors. But for right now, I'm going to do that here. We're going to do that here. We're going to name it the background to be blue. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to space this out just a little bit to make it a little bit cleaner, since we will be adding a lot more in here. But this is our background here. Save it one more time, and I'm going to refresh. And now you see, now we have a black, not a black, but a blue background here. Our text is a little bit harder to see. We will fix that. But basically this is now made our background completely blue. Now I want to edit her title. She wanted some whites in her title, or from that sketch that we came up with, we had her title to be white. Now this is where we're going to start getting into classes. Remember how I said when you define a class, you have to go back and edit it within your HTML and in your CSS a specific way, which we start off by dot and we say title, because here we are in our H1, our title is right here. This is what we define the class to be title. I want to do an open and close bracket. I'm going to space it out because we're going to put some more stuff in here. And for our title, I want to do color. I want to name it white. I want to end that with a semicolon. I want to do padding, which will help adjust it a little bit. I want to make that 10 pixels. I want to put a semicolon at the end there too. And then I want to do margin. Remember from that box model I showed you margin. I'm going to make that 10 pixels and I'm going to end that like that. And now basically what we are going to do here, we are going to save that and that should work. And as you can see, Amelia's Bakery is now white here. It's in the title, it's white. And that is so that we don't go back and start messing around with other header ones or whatever different headers you might want to add to your HTML file, so that we only mess with that one. Now that I have done that, I want to quickly go over into our menu. So again, we had a class, we named it menu. I want to do an open and close bracket. And I want to do the color to be white. I want a border style, which with our borders, there's going to be basically a box around those links. And I want it to be solid. We have different ones. We have dotted, solid, and different type of ones that there's a lot more that you can search up on the internet. But we're going to do a solid one for right now. We're going to do border color to change the color of that border. I'm going to make it light blue like that, semicolon. And I want to do a background. And what this is going to go into is those hexacodes that I was talking about. So when you are doing hexacode colors, where you might be able to find like a color scheme or a color wheel on the internet, you will be able to define all of these by using hexacodes. And I'm going to do one where I call it 0000CD. Put that in caps there. And that's going to be a specific shading of blue that we will have for the background of that border. As well as I want to have a width. The width is going to be how wide it is. Since we are working with pixels, there are different types of way you can define your width. I like to use pixels personally. So I'm going to make this, let's say 550 pixels. And I'm going to save it. Go to my browser, refresh it. And as you can see, now we have a border around here. This is where everything is going to go within that border. So our links will be eventually at the top. But it is basically like this, having that border around there. And so that is a way that you have like the menu showing up here. I'm going to do something else another bit quickly, how we can edit those navigations, those list elements in our links and those tags, is I'm going to do A for that anchor tag, nav, and UL, which is our unordered list that we had made. And the reason I'm putting these all on the same lines is so that I don't have to make more separate lines for all the same things, because since I'm going to define my anchor tags, my navigation, and my unordered list to be the same thing, I can list them together. So I'm going to do color again. I'm going to do white, do that semicolon, I want to put it in the position of initial. This will position it in a certain way. I also want to do what we call display, and I want to do display flex. This will be able to put it where it aligns it at the top and aligns it in a way where it is all even across. So I want to put display flex, and you'll see what that is in a minute. I want to do justify content, and what that is going to be is space between, to give it some space between those links. I want to do margin. I'm going to make that 10 pixels. I'm going to do padding again. That's going to be 10 pixels. I'm going to be doing list type. To make a certain type of this, I'm going to make it none, and you'll see why I did that in a minute. And I want to do font size, and depending on how big I want this to be, I'm going to be again using pixels. So I'm going to make this 30 pixels, and then I want that background again, and I'm basically going to make it the same color that I did here. So I'm going to actually copy and paste that over. Put that right there, and I'm going to go ahead and save it, open it up again, refresh. You can kind of see it changed a little bit there. Let me go back. Maybe I am missing a closing tag somewhere. I don't know why. I did not. I have an extra closing bracket. That closing bracket is supposed to be right here. This is why you want to be very careful with your brackets. Make sure that you are closing them within whatever class or whatever CSS that you were editing, because I made changes here that are not showing up. And that's because if this does not get closed, which is why we have these open and closed brackets, then it won't show up what I am doing. So I'm going to go back, open this up, refresh. And you can see it's definitely changed it, and we're gonna fix this in a minute. But basically, you can see now we have our HTML here, where we have our CSS, where we have these links, and now they are across, and those little unordered dots that we have there are now gone. We will get back to fixing all of this in the next part. So it's going to look a little bit janky for right now, but we're getting somewhere. We're just going to do a lot of cleanup. So I will see you in the next video, and just stay tuned.